Okay, when I first started this channel, I wanted to do reviews and I also wanted to just have plain discussions. And I had one, what I would call general discussion slash rant, which was on DVD features, and I haven't gone back to that yet. But there's one I've been wanting to talk about, and that's the idea of sequels and our complaints about sequels. Because it's really a love hate relationship. And when I'm talking about sequels, I'm talking about movie sequels. We, of course, probably rightfully so, are constantly complaining that Hollywood is just producing sequel after sequel after sequel. There's no originality, and they tend to wind up cannibalizing the franchises that they're trying to promote. Basically, beating them down to the death, making us hate the franchises, destroying stuff that was in earlier films with a larger canonicity, and really making us kind of hate it. Look at Highlander as a perfect example. Starts with a fairly good movie, wind up getting a very solid fan base, and they kind of wind up destroying every single sequel that comes up after that. It kind of ruins the first one almost. But it's not always the Highlander case. There's also people still complain about, let's say, Terminators, who are not as universally hated, although there are certainly complaints to be made about the latter two sequels, but Pirates of the Caribbean. However, is it really only the fault of the studios, I would ask? Can we really put all the blame on the studios? Because although we hate sequels in general, we tend, as an audience, or at least as a fan, to want a sequel to the films we like. If you look at when they're talking about a sequel, without, let's say, before we even see a trailer, they're talking about, hey, they're going to make a sequel to this. Let's say, when Pirates of the Caribbean was due, hey, they're coming out with a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel. We all got really, really excited. Especially if you liked the film, if you thought it was all right, you go, oh, cool. I really want to see that, and people on the internet then start having really, getting high expectations. Or if we don't have a sequel to a film, people start kind of wanting to see a sequel. Serenity. There's a film that never got a sequel, but fans of it are still clamoring. They want to see more of it. Granted, it was based on a television show, so there's something. But even people that, let's say, enjoyed Cloverfield, of all things, they still want a sequel. They're kind of, if you go, they still are constantly talking about a sequel. They're people with the Tron. Fans of Tron were complaining and asking for a sequel for 30 years before they finally got one. So, it's a rather interesting relationship. We do criticize film companies for creating sequels, but we are demanding that they make sequels to films we like. Which, this isn't actually that weird of a relationship. My background is in political science, and in that field, especially in Congress, we have this rather strange phenomenon where Congress has almost universally polls at ridiculously low approval ratings. Something around 20%, sometimes less, rarely more. However, when asked about their individual congressmen, people almost universally give them pretty high praise, comparatively speaking, in political polling. So it's a phenomenon that exists where we hate something in the aggregate, but enjoy it in the individual. Very strange, but we can kind of see the purpose. And I only bring this up is every time I'm not saying we shouldn't complain about it. There are too many sequels, and not every film franchise really does need a sequel, even if I want it, because I will want it until it's been destroyed by its sequels. Jurassic Park's a good one that's on its way, especially if some of the rumors I've been reading about the next Jurassic. People have been talking about a new Jurassic Park movie, and it sounds horrible. That's all I will say. This sounds ridiculously bad if they try to do it. I mean, the third film at least made somewhat sense if you heard about it. Oh, somebody gets stuck on the island, and a family tries to hire some people to go and rescue them on the dinosaur island. Makes sense. Okay. I don't even want to go into what I've been here, but as an example there, if we keep on wanting to see another Jurassic Park sequel, and everything I keep on hearing is looking bad, so we as fans are not always right. Sometimes a franchise just needs to stop. It's done its job. It's told its story. Go on hiatus. Maybe do a remake 30 years, and it's sometimes better to see a remake because you can always forget a remake happened. You can always just write off a remake. And yeah, they tried to remake it. It wasn't as good as the original. Leave it at that. Clash of the Titans, perfect example there. No one's going to remember that remake. People are still going to remember the original. I still remember the original way more than the remake. But I think I've hit my point on this one fairly well. It's just something I want people to think about next time they bash Hollywood for making too many sequels or a lack of originality. Actually, another quick thing I want to add, because I almost forgot there and I was talking. The other reason Hollywood goes for sequels is a business one, only because a movie, and this goes into several other subtopics, but the reason sequels are very popular is because movies have become increasingly more expensive. Even when you adjust for inflation, movies cost more today than they did 15, 20 years ago. I mean, what was it? I think Aliens, let me pull up the web's IMDb here. Okay, which cost about, according to IMDb, $18.5 million. Now, if you adjust for inflation, it's about double that at about $35.7 million, which is really a low-end movie nowadays. That's not an A-class movie. Nowadays, if they were to make Aliens, it would cost $100 million, which would probably be equivalent to a $50 million production back then. So movies proportionally have costed a lot more. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. One, it is special effects. CGI is easy. It's too easy. They wind up putting it in, and it really winds up getting money added onto it. The other thing is actors are overpaid. I mean, really, they're overpaid. You look at some of these prices and you kind of go, no way are these guys actually bringing in, just for having their name on there, that much additional money. I think it's a falsity that the industry has been kind of unwilling to address, but it's certainly one of those contributing factors. I mean, you can pay an actor $1 million, but when you get up to like $10 million, I kind of doubt that just their name is bringing in $10 million extra revenue. Really. But that's the other thing, is why they've been making sequels increasing, and remakes, and prequels, basically because they really can't take the risk. I mean, look at here's a perfect example, the Final Fantasy movie, The Spirits Within. That movie bombed. It was incredibly expensive. It bombed, and it destroyed the production, or the studio, or not the studio, but the production house, or whatever it was. You know, it ruined the Square Enix's movie projects completely. It wiped it all out. So there is some fault there, and that's, I would say, is mostly internal industry stuff. They really have not learned to restrain themselves in their production. Especially when you've seen like $30 million movies make $100 million. Resident Evil movies have been basically around that price range, and they've brought in $100 million. I'm digressing at this point, but that is the other reason why sequels are brought in. But there is still the fans' responsibility. We're also asking for it. So if you have a lot of risk you're going to take, and you have the fans already asking for something, you're going to go with that rather than something brand new. Unless the director it's really being pushed heavily by this particular director, and that director has a lot of clout, like James Cameron. That's probably the only reason we have now a big budget movie that, I mean, complain what you want about the story being stolen. For all their intensive purposes, it's an original independent property. Avatar. It's got, giant blue fucking monkey aliens running around on a different planet. No really established franchise. Try seeing something like that. Well, actually, this year there's a few things that are kind of like that. We'll see how Battle Los Angeles turns out. Maybe this is a year it's starting to turn around. maybe the extra prices that Hollywood has been paying for acquiring these franchises are starting to catch up. Maybe they're starting to realize that, hey, I don't need to purchase this franchise rights. I'll just make it my own. Now, not all these original stuff, though, you might be seeing are original. For example, Cowboys and Aliens, Priest, 2 films that are coming out this year, based on graphic novels, which is another becoming a new source material. Of course, much cheaper than having to buy full comic book superheroes like Batman. But still, I am digressing, and I'm signing off for now.